So some fairly surprising news. Kate Martin waived by the Golden State Valkyries. I don't think most people expected that to happen. Obviously, they picked her up in the expansion draft. She'd been a part of their inaugural season, branding in a sense, some star power, more so than a player at that level typically has, given her, tenure at Iowa, of course, and, her time playing next to Caitlin Clark, which will lead to the natural speculation of, could she be on the Indiana Fever? Kate Martin last year for the Valkyries averaged 6.2 points in 16.4 minutes.
Nefisa Collier couldn't believe her eyes when the news flashed across her phone. The betrayal felt personal, sharp, and completely unexpected in a league where loyalty is supposed to mean everything. Kate Martin was gone, not just from her team's radar, but potentially headed straight into the arms of the one player who is currently rewriting every rule in the book. The silence from the Lynx front office spoke volumes, but it was Nefisa's reaction behind closed doors that truly sent shockwaves through the locker room. This wasn't just a roster move, it was a total abandonment of the plan they had discussed for months.
Time playing next to Caitlin Clark, which will lead to the natural speculation of, could she be on the Indiana Fever? Kate Martin last year for the Valkyries averaged 6.2 points in 16.4 minutes. She shot 31% from three. The year before with the Aces, she shot almost 36% from three. And the Valkyries with a bunch of surprising moves this offseason, really, when you think about the Marta Suarez draft pick and then waiving her after trading the rights to that draft pick, which was Flau'jae Johnson. Here's the roster for the Valkyries. As you see,
the Golden State Valkyries just dropped a nuclear bomb on their inaugural season before it even truly began. Cutting Kate Martin wasn't on anyone's bingo card, especially given how much branding they'd already invested in her star power. She was supposed to be the face of their expansion, the bridge between college stardom and professional dominance. Instead, she was unceremoniously waived, left to fend for herself in a market that is already reaching its breaking point. This decision didn't just leave Kate in a lurch. It signaled a massive shift in how teams are viewing the value of certain stars.
Contracts where they could bring in Kate Martin if they so felt the desire or the need to, but it's tough when you get to that point, when you run a whole camp and a preseason and you make your cuts, to then go like, no, peace out to you as well. That is not generally, I think, look, if teams should do what's best for them and what's best for their rosters. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but it puts her in a bit of a tough spot, considering, either she goes on a development deal, which she's still eligible for, but that would be a tough pill to swallow, I think, for somebody who's been in the league like Kate Martin, has played an unrivaled.
Everyone is pointing their fingers toward Indiana, and the logic is as clear as day. The bond between Kate Martin and Caitlin Clark isn't just about friendship, it's about a basketball synergy that the league hasn't seen in decades. By becoming a free agent in such a dramatic fashion, Kate has essentially paved the way for a reunion that Napheesa Collier likely views as a direct threat. The idea of Martin choosing to align herself with Clark's rising empire instead of sticking it out with the established veterans in Minnesota is the kind of narrative that burns bridges and starts rivalries.
Nefisa Collier had this interview, I think it was with CNBC, where she had some interesting comments when you talk about a real bona fide difference maker who could be leaving their team in the future. This is what Collier had to say about signing a one-year deal, only signing a one-year deal with it was NPR. I'm sorry, not CNBC, with the Minnesota Lynx.
I'm so focused on the now. Like, I just came off 2 ankle surgeries. I'm trying to get back on the court, and like, this was such a whirlwind. We had with the CBA going on and all these things, like, everything was happening so fast. I just wanted to be able to focus on.
Nefisa's own future is hanging by a very thin thread, and her recent contract moves prove she is keeping one foot out the door. She flat out refused a long-term extension, opting for a high-risk one-year deal that has the entire Minnesota organization sweating. When asked about it, she dodged the questions with the precision of a seasoned politician, claiming she was focused on the now. But everyone knows that in the WNBA, a one-year deal is a loud and clear message that you are ready to explore your options the second things go south. She is looking beyond the Twin Cities.
Less than a year so far in the future.
I know. Yeah, but that's what it feels like. The season feels like a mountain. And every day it's like you're fighting for something. It's physically and mentally exhausting. And so it really is like you're just trying to get to the, like, make it to the end of the season and get to playoffs.
Good PR training by Fee there to be able to dodge those questions, but she didn't answer them either. And it certainly makes you wonder, because she took a long time to sign that core, which was for 1 year. And, you know, other teams were sort of quiet on the market. I had actually heard rumblings that Fee may be looking beyond.
The physical toll of this game has pushed Nefisa to her absolute breaking point. She's coming off 2 grueling ankle surgeries, a recovery process that she described as a complete whirlwind of pain and uncertainty. This isn't the same player who was willing to stay quiet and play through the contact. She's now speaking up about the rugby style of play that has taken over the league, calling out the officiating for allowing players to literally kill each other on the court. It's this frustration with the league's violence that makes Kate Martin's potential move even more of a slap in the face.
Teams were sort of quiet on the market. I had actually heard rumblings that Fee may be looking beyond the Twin Cities, and you think like, okay, you know, teams like the Valkyries, let's say, were quiet for a minute there. The core made it tougher because, you know, then Cheryl Reeve, who's running the team, would have to facilitate all that. But once she did do that and it was a 1-year deal, my first thought was she plans to, at the very least, explore her options after the season. We'll see when Fee's even ready to compete and get back on the floor.
Let's look at the cold, hard numbers that led to this shocking cut. Last season, Kate averaged 6.2 points in limited minutes, shooting 31% from beyond the arc. While those aren't exactly superstar numbers, her previous season showed flashes of an elite 36% shooter. The Valkyries apparently decided that those stats weren't worth the roster spot, especially after a series of confusing moves involving draft picks like Marta Suarez. It's a cutthroat business, but waiving a player with Kate's level of fan engagement and potential is a move that reeks of internal turmoil.
The, reffing and the officiating that caused some buzz, but she really only said what everybody else has said.
I do feel like the game is too physical right now. I think that's been a complaint of players and coaches alike for the past several years. We've been compared to the NBA of the 80s in just our physicality. And I do think that hinders the players, obviously. Like, you come to watch players play offense and to score. And so when it's so physical, the game's not fun to watch and it's not fun to play.
How did that happen?
How did it get so physical?
Yeah.
I think we're competitors. I mean, we want.
The Fever currently hold a developmental spot that seems tailor-made for someone of Kate Martin's caliber. However, for a player who has already proven she can compete at the highest level, taking a developmental deal feels like a massive step backward. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially when you consider the quad injury she's been battling throughout the preseason. If she chooses to go to Indiana, she's choosing to be part of the Caitlin Clark show, potentially sacrificing her own individual identity for the sake of a familiar chemistry that Napheesa Collier clearly envies and fears.
Flopping and flailing for calls rather than trying to score is rewarded. But in the WNBA, grabbing and holding and impeding the progress of the perimeter player has been just basically allowed. And Becky Hammond called it rugby last year. Obviously, we've seen what's happened with Caitlin Clark on the perimeter, Stephanie White, Natalie Nakase, now Napheesa Collier. There are a bunch of players that have said it. And Collier got hurt on that Alyssa Thomas play, notably last year, that caused Cheryl Reeve to flip out. And she's talked about it. So I don't know why people had this big knee-jerk reaction to Fee just saying what everybody else was saying and what the commissioner of the WNBA.
In her recent interview, Collier didn't just talk about her contract. She exposed the mental and physical exhaustion that comes with being a league leader. She described the season as a mountain that you have to fight to climb every single day. It's exhausting, it's draining, and it's clearly making her rethink her long-term commitment to a team that might not be able to protect its stars. When you're fighting that hard just to stay on the floor, seeing a young talent like Kate Martin seemingly abandon the grind for a high-profile reunion is enough to make any veteran lose their cool. The Valkyries roster announcement was a masterclass in subverting expectations. While Caitlin Chen managed to secure her spot, the fact that Kate Martin was left on the outside looking in has sparked a firestorm of speculation. Most teams have already finalized their 12-player rotations, leaving Kate in a dangerously vulnerable position. She's currently in a race against time to find a landing spot before the season officially tips off. If she doesn't land on her feet soon, one of the brightest personalities in the league could find herself watching from the sidelines during her prime. Nefisa isn't the only one fed up with how games are being called. She echoed the sentiments of legendary coaches who have compared the current state of the WNBA to a rugby match. Collier argued that the game is being catered far too much to the defensive player, allowing for grabbing, holding, and impeding progress that would never be tolerated in other professional leagues. This isn't just about complaining, it's about career longevity. For a player coming off major surgeries, every uncalled foul feels like a direct threat to her livelihood and her ability to ever win a title. We can't forget the moment that truly changed Collier's perspective on league safety. The Alistair Thomas play from last year was a turning point that saw her head coach absolutely flip out on the sidelines. That play resulted in a serious injury and served as a wake-up call for everyone involved. When Nefisa talks about the rules needing to change for the safety of the players, she isn't speaking in hypotheticals. She has the scars to prove that the current level of physicality is unsustainable for the league's top offensive talents who just want to play the game they love. The most telling part of Collier's recent comments was her admission that new opportunities arise every single year. By refusing to sign for more than 12 months, she has effectively put the entire league on notice. She knows that her value will only skyrocket as the league expands, and she wants to be in a position to leverage that power. Whether that means joining forces with a new expansion team or finding a way to play alongside the league's newest sensations, Nefisa is playing a very calculated game of chess while everyone else is still trying to figure out the rules. While everyone is obsessed with the Indiana connection, there are other potential landing spots for Kate Martin that could be even more interesting. The Washington Mystics are currently thin on the wings and could desperately use a player with her shooting touch and basketball IQ. Then there's the obvious link back to the Las Vegas Aces, a team she is already intimately familiar with from her past. But any move she makes right now is going to be viewed through the lens of her relationship with Caitlin Clark, a narrative that seems to be overshadowing her actual skills on the court. There is a dangerous downside to the kind of fame Kate Martin has cultivated alongside Clark. Teams might see her more as a marketing asset than a core basketball player, which could explain why the Valkyries felt comfortable letting her go. If a team views you as star power first and a player second, your spot on the roster is never truly safe. This is the exact trap that Napheesa Collier is trying to avoid by being so vocal about her recovery and her desire to be judged solely on her performance and her ability to lead a team to a championship without any of the gimmicks. The context of the current collective bargaining agreement cannot be ignored in this drama. Collier mentioned that everything was happening so fast with the CBA negotiations that she just wanted to focus on getting back on the court. The league is in a state of flux, with rules and financial structures changing by the day. This instability is forcing veteran players to make radical decisions about their contracts and their loyalties. It's a high-stakes environment where one wrong move or one shocking decision by a teammate can ruin years of careful planning for a franchise star. The commissioner has already hinted that officiating will be a major point of emphasis this year, specifically to benefit offensive players who handle the basketball. This should be music to the ears of players like Nefisa and Caitlin Clark, but it also creates a divide in the league. Defensive specialists feel like they are being legislated out of the game, while stars are demanding more protection. Collier was quick to clarify that she doesn't want the game to become a flopping mess like parts of the NBA, but she is demanding a middle ground that simply does not exist yet. For Kate Martin to even be considered for a development spot at this stage of her career is nothing short of an insult. She has played in the highest pressure environments college basketball has to offer, and has shown she can contribute to winning teams. Being told she might have to take a development deal just to stay in the league is a harsh reality check. It's the kind of situation that makes you wonder if the expansion process is actually helping players or just creating more ways for talented athletes to fall through the cracks of a broken and highly competitive system. Behind the scenes, the leadership in Minnesota is holding the keys to the Lynx' future, and they are not known for their patience. If they feel that Nefisa is looking to leave, or if they sense that the team's chemistry is being disrupted by outside drama, they won't hesitate to make a move. The fact that Collier took a long time to even sign her one-year deal suggests that there were some very difficult conversations happening in those offices. The relationship between a star player and a legendary organization is delicate, and right now, it looks more strained than ever before. If Kate Martin doesn't secure a spot on a roster within the next few days, she will officially be on the outside looking in as the season begins. This is a nightmare scenario for a player with her profile. The visibility she gained playing next to Clark was a double-edged sword. It made her a household name, but it also put a massive target on her back. Now, without a team to call home, that fame could quickly turn into a liability as critics question whether she can actually hack it in the pros without a superstar teammate to draw the defense away and open up those shots. It's important to note that Nefisa Collier isn't doing this for the money. She already has a Supermax contract, the highest financial reward the league can offer. Her frustrations and her losing it over the current state of the league are about something much deeper than a paycheck. She is fighting for the soul of the game and for the respect that veteran players deserve. When she sees the league gravitating toward the hype of newcomers while veterans are left to deal with rugby-style violence, her patience finally reaches its limit and the true feelings come out. We often forget the mental exhaustion that comes with professional sports. Collier's description of the season as a mountain highlights the psychological burden of being a franchise player. You aren't just playing games, you're carrying the expectations of an entire city and an entire league. When you add the stress of a major injury and the uncertainty of a teammate's loyalty, it's a miracle she hasn't walked away already. The shocking decision by Kate Martin might have just been the final straw in a very long line of disappointments that Napheesa has had to endure lately. We are witnessing a total transformation of the WNBA, and not everyone is happy about the direction it's heading. The influx of new talent like Caitlin Clark is bringing in more fans than ever, but it's also creating a massive rift between the old guard and the new arrivals. Napheesa Collier is caught right in the middle of this transition, trying to maintain her dominance while the very rules of the game are being rewritten to favor the next generation. It's a battle for relevance, safety, and the future of professional women's basketball in an increasingly hostile environment. Ultimately, the drama surrounding Kate Martin and Napheesa Collier is a symptom of a league that is growing faster than it can manage. The decisions made in the coming weeks will determine whether the WNBA can successfully integrate its new stars without alienating the veterans who built the foundation. Kate's next move, whether it's to Indiana or into the shadows of a development league, will be a defining moment for her career, and for Napheesa, the clock is ticking on a one-year deal that could lead her anywhere, or potentially leave her standing alone at the top.